Imagine a world where burning books is not just a story from a dystopian novel, but a real threat. A world where scholars risk their lives for the sake of knowledge. This was the reality in the early 16th century, a time when a simple idea could lead to a life or death struggle. In 1509, a man named Johannes Pfefferkorn, a former rabbi turned Dominican monk, published a book called Judenspiegel, Mirror of the Jews. This book was not just any book. It was a call to destroy all Hebrew texts, including the Talmud, the central text of Rabbinic Judaism. Pfefferkorn's proposal sent shockwaves through the scholarly community. One of the most prominent voices to rise against this dangerous idea was Johannes Reuchlin, a German humanist and scholar. Reuchlin was horrified by the thought of such cultural desecration and believed that Hebrew scholarship should be preserved and even promoted. He argued that universities should establish chairs in Hebrew studies, emphasizing the importance of understanding Jewish texts to enrich Christian scholarship. Pfefferkorn, feeling betrayed by Reuchlin's opposition, retaliated with a book of his own, Handspiegel, Hand Mirror, in which he accused Reuchlin of being a pawn of the Jews. The feud escalated, and Reuchlin responded with Augenspiegel, Eyeglass, a sharp critique of Pfefferkorn's anti-intellectual stance. This sparked a 6-year controversy that divided scholars, universities, and religious authorities across Europe. The Dominicans, supported by conservative clergy, saw Reuchlin's defense of Hebrew texts as heresy and brought charges against him to the Inquisition in Cologne. The battle lines were drawn, and the controversy raged on. Universities in France and Germany burned Reuchlin's books, but he found allies in influential figures like Erasmus and Ulrich von Hutten. Eventually, an episcopal court acquitted Reuchlin, and his ideas began to spread, particularly through his grammar book, Rudimentia Hebraica, which became a key text in Hebrew studies at universities. Meanwhile, Erasmus, one of the most celebrated scholars of the time, was in Rome when the dispute broke out. His opinion was highly valued, and the Vatican sought his input. Erasmus, known for his moderation, suggested that the issue could be resolved through peaceful compromise. This diplomatic stance endeared him to his hosts, who offered him a comfortable position in Rome. However, news of the death of the King of England, Henry VII, and a personal invitation from Henry VIII changed Erasmus's plans. Erasmus had known Henry VIII since his youth, and both shared a deep commitment to the Catholic faith. Henry's offer of a warm welcome, with the promise of generous terms, was too tempting to refuse. Erasmus saw England as a place where he could enjoy intellectual freedom and protection from the rigid orthodoxy of the Vatican. In England, he believed he could explore and publish his ideas without fear of persecution. Erasmus's decision to leave Rome for England was not just a pragmatic choice, but a strategic one. He had unorthodox views that he wanted to share, but in Rome, these views could have led to his downfall. In England, he found a safe haven and the support of a powerful sovereign. This move set the stage for his future works, which would challenge the very foundations of the Catholic Church and contribute to the intellectual ferment of the Reformation. Erasmus's time in England was marked by a sense of intellectual freedom and support from influential figures like Sir Thomas More. More, a close friend and fellow humanist, welcomed Erasmus into his home and provided him with a servant, freeing Erasmus from the mundane concerns of daily life. This allowed Erasmus to focus on his scholarly pursuits, which included a critical examination of the Bible and the translation of the New Testament into Greek. Erasmus's approach to reform was rooted in his belief that reason and scholarship could address the abuses within the Church. Unlike some of his contemporaries, who withdrew from the corruption they saw in the Church, Erasmus believed that through reasoned argument and scholarly engagement, he could bring about meaningful change. His works, such as In Praise of Folly and his annotations on the New Testament, challenged the status quo and encouraged critical thinking. However, Erasmus's approach had its limitations. His appeal was primarily to the learned elite, and his ideas often failed to resonate with the broader population, including the lower clergy and the masses. The press, as we know it today, did not exist, and the spread of information was limited. As a result, his reform efforts, while influential among his peers, had limited impact on the broader church and society. Despite these challenges, Erasmus's legacy is significant. He was a bridge between the medieval and modern worlds, a champion of humanism, and a critical voice in the early Reformation. His works continue to be studied and admired for their intellectual depth and their contribution to the development of Western thought. In the end, the story of Reuchlin and Erasmus is a reminder of the power of ideas and the courage it takes to stand up for what one believes is right, even in the face of great opposition. It is a story that resonates with us today, as we continue to grapple with issues of freedom, tolerance, and the pursuit of knowledge.